Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And today, specifically, there has been new reports of the shoot-down of a Russian airborne early warning aircraft, an A-50, as you can see here. Now, what's interesting is the shoot down of this aircraft. The reported location is this area here. Now, where specifically in this area was it shot down? It's difficult to say. I believe this is the Kanevskoy district, southwest of Rostov-on-the-Don. If you look at the distance, roughly, of where the aircraft may have been shot down versus the closest area of the front line is 160 kilometers. Now, here's the problem with this scenario. There's no Ukrainian long-range surface-to-air missile battery that is operating this close to the front line. In all probability, it is very much operating to the rear. More likely, the distance of the shoot-down was in excess of 270 to 300 kilometers. So very, very long range. So how were the Ukrainians able to do this? If, in fact, this is true and the Ukrainians were able to shoot this aircraft down. Well, they don't have a system, a weapon system, an air defense, surface-to-air missile system that has the ability to reach out and hit that aircraft at that range. Furthermore, here's the biggest challenge for the Ukrainians. It is activating their long-range air search radar systems. As I've talked about before, the minute the Ukrainians activate those extremely long-range air search radar systems, the Russians can see exactly where those systems are. Compounding that, these are very large systems, very large radar arrays designed to see deep into enemy territory. So that's not what picked up this Russian aircraft. It was not a Ukrainian long-range radar system. It probably was not what the Ukrainians are stating in terms of the weapon system that shot it down. The Ukrainians are stating that it was a modified S-200. That was what the Ukrainians say was fired well behind the front lines and then was able to engage that Russian aircraft deep in Russian territory. That's why I believe we could be seeing some sort of new weapon system being fielded. Not by the Ukrainians. Not by the Ukrainians. It's highly probable that the shoot down of that A-50 aircraft was the result of some other undisclosed Western United States air denial system. Now, what that was and how it was used, it's difficult to say. There has been some talk of the deployment of an air-launched Patriot missile. Outside of that, the only real options that could have shot down that Russian aircraft, where it was shot down, if that aircraft was operating closer, let's say near Mariupol or Melitopol, or even in the northern edges of Crimea, all right, we could say reasonably that it could have been an S-300. It could have been a Patriot that was moved closer to the front, but we believe the Patriots that the Ukrainians have right now are, for the most part, being used near Kiev. There is the possibility that some were deployed near Kharkov, but outside of that, that's really it. And I don't believe that a modified S-200 would have been effective to take that kind of long-distance shot. Then again, the question is what radar system was tracking that A-50? Wasn't a Ukrainian track. It had to be a NATO or a U.S. E-3, some sort of airborne or satellite-based radar tracking system that was watching that A-50. Now, if the Russians had its radar up and running on this A-50, the Ukrainians would be able to see it. Again, it's the explanation that I have talked about on earlier videos. Again, think about a soccer field in the dark of night. If I'm standing on one end of the soccer field and you're standing on the other end of the soccer field, and it's pitch black out, there's no ambient light, there's no moon, no nothing, we aren't going to see each other. But if I turn on a flashlight at the other end of that soccer field in the dark of night, and with that flashlight, well, in the case of this aircraft, it's going to be more like a searchlight. So not only am I at the other end of the soccer field going to see that aircraft or going to see that light, it's the same with this very large radar array. You're going to see it. Now, there are other systems on this aircraft that act in a passive method, meaning they are not active. They are not going to put out signals that disclose their location. Now, it's possible that indeed the Russians had this radar up and running, in which case it could be seen by the Ukrainians. But that doesn't explain the weapon system and where it was launched that was able to reach out and bring that aircraft down. I think they were using something else, something that has not been discussed as of yet. Obviously, war brings out new weapon systems, and I think we're seeing that now, if in fact that Russian aircraft was shot down. I wanted to talk about that. We're continuing to watch the front line. Things are continuing to crumble for the Ukrainians. There are multiple areas along the front now where the Russians are achieving limited operational success after the fairly major success of what happened in Avdiivka. So we're going to continue to monitor, continue to report. Thank you for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. And as always, have a good day.